The New Jersey CEO Council is the state's effort to encourage employers to adopt an anchor mission. The intention and focus are in alignment with our existing efforts to hire and buy locally. Our system continues to be the leading healthcare provider institution in the state of New Jersey and a thought leader from both the clinical and service support that we provide to the communities around the state. As we look to continue the advance of our mission, which is enabling the communities we serve to have better health. Through the New Jersey CEO Council, the health system has been leveraged as an advisor. We've been engaged in the Pay It Forward Fund, as well as the Procurement Center of Excellence. We have internal experts, human resources, supply chain, and I will highlight Diana, engaged in providing guidance, insight, and strategy on the design of our programs to ensure that the programs are successful and benefit both our system and the vulnerable communities we serve. So Diana, without going on too much longer, I'll give it back to you. Diana, we can't hear you.
Sorry, I was muted. Apologies. So again, I'm going to provide a little bit of context in terms of what the New Jersey CEO Council is. It is, as Dr. Alexander alluded to, a state effort, and it was brought to us by the governor's office really late 2020, so it was almost early 2021. And the governor's office really had the intention to encourage employers to hire and buy locally. And so they tapped a select few employers, including RWJBarnabas, to commit and really help support their targets. So their goals really are by 2030 to hire 30,000 New Jersey residents. That is not to say that we, RWJBarnabas alone, are going to hire all 30,000, although I'm told that just based on our size, we could easily achieve that by 2030, but rather it's what is our contribution to that target. Also, their second goal is, again, as a collective, how do we spend $250 million? And so upon speaking to our internal asset leaders, we came up with some commitments and how we can contribute to both those goals. Next slide, 1 second. All right, so our hiring commitment, again, this was done through internal analysis by Marty Everhart's team. We actually decided to commit to 21,600 hires, again, by the year 2030, where 18,000 of those would be female, full-time and part-time hires, and 60% of those would be diverse. In addition, we would commit to hiring 3,600 male and diverse full and part-time hires. So again, the goal is a long-term goal. It's a 10-year commitment. And so you can see our progress to date. I believe Marty may be in this call. So if he wants to jump in and make any comments, but from what I've seen, we're well on track to reaching our goals by 2030.
Hi, Diana, it's Marty, and you are correct. We projected this goal in a much more conservative time frame of hiring than what our current reality is. So there is little doubt that we will exceed this target. What it says to us, though, is we need to focus more on those communities that have a greater need and really increase our pool from those communities to get them into our organization. Thanks.
Thank you, Marty. So this is the hiring commitment. In addition, the state also wanted to ensure that we were upskilling vulnerable communities. So while we're also doing some hiring, they created, and to be honest, it's still being built out, what is called the Pay It Forward program. So this it's really an evergreen fund. And the idea is, while it is asking the employers to do a one-time financial commitment towards this fund, it would provide training dollars for individuals. And once those individuals get trained and become certified and placed, they would essentially pay back the loan from this fund in an effort to really keep it sustainable. So again, there's a lot of nuances there because they have to make sure that, we're not creating a loan product that is unfairly, creating too much of a burden, financial burden for folks. And so as a result, there's a lot of partners involved. Social finance is actually the governor's and the state's intermediary. So they're the project management firm. You also have an entity called Mohila, and really they're going to be the ones that are designing, again, what that paying back looks like to ensure that, the fund can be sustainable. You also have the Higher Education Student Assistance Authority involved because they want to make sure that we're providing all the student aid that's available to students before we tap into this evergreen fund. And again, there's a lot of government entities that are supporting this effort with the state to ensure that it is successful. I will say that from our end, we obviously we're going to contribute to the fund. We created an agreement with Metrics because we wanted to make sure that the monies were earmarked specifically for healthcare roles. The state is creating this fund with the intention to support the healthcare sector, the green energy sector, as well as the tech sector. And so we want to ensure that we are, in fact, contributing to, again, creating the pipeline as it relates to healthcare. We also ensured through the HR and workforce development team that we were encouraging the state to look at credentialed roles. And that is super important in healthcare, right? As we look at living wage jobs as well, because we don't want to just provide low skill entry jobs. We want to make sure that we are providing those career ladders and that folks can in fact pay back, right, the training dollars that were borrowed against. So next up, the New Jersey CO Council also has a procurement element. And so as you notice, there's that commitment for all employers to contribute to the $250 million. They've also stood up a procurement center of excellence that is actually housed under the Rutgers Business School. So the idea is, again, to create a learning collaborative to sort of share the different local and diverse suppliers among employers, connecting with the chambers of commerce, creating more network opportunities. And further down the line, they do want to create some more investments and connections to venture capital funds. So we also have a lot of parties involved in that procurement center of excellence. But as I said, a lot of these things are still in design, but they are growing, and as we go along, we'll learn more. Okay, so our supply chain folks actually advised on the goal as it relates to procurement. The target really is to increase our local and diverse spend to 8%. So you'll see there where we're at in terms of our New Jersey spend, and then how much our percent is really, those are certified small and diverse businesses. So when we say diverse businesses, those are the ones that are providing certifications as a small business, woman-owned business, veteran, and minority-owned. I think supply chain is on the call, so if one of you wants to provide any context or feedback in terms of how we're doing, that would be wonderful.
This is Phil Maneri, part of supply chain over contracting. So one of the things I think you have to keep in mind here, the numbers that we're presenting are strictly our tier 1 spend. We have a lot that we're doing through tier 2 that we haven't yet captured. So while the numbers are there, I think that we have to give ourselves a little bit more of a buffer here to understand that we still have a piece of this that we have to kind of contribute to show how we're doing overall. I think we are meeting the target. Some of the things I think you're going to see today are going to show you how we're going to advance these numbers, because we truly do have a great system in place, which is the first in the state. So that's just something to keep in mind as you look at this.
Great. Thank you so much, Phil, for your comments. All right. So next step, again, this is just to provide you some overview, but there are still some changes as it relates to the New Jersey CO Council. They recently announced that this council will actually be headed by Choose New Jersey, so it will be housed under Choose New Jersey. Again, they're seeing it more of from a capacity issue. They want to make sure that they're providing the right resources for us to function and create sort of different offshoots and committees. And so they realize that, you know, while the state can do what it can, it's probably better suited to be nested under the Choose New Jersey organization. Again, there'll be more to come, but I think that's an exciting opportunity because Choose New Jersey does a lot with attracting businesses and innovation and research. So I think that's going to be really a good thing for us in the long term. This is also an opportunity, again, for all our asset leaders to really contribute to these goals that we've already made to the state. They're very public, right? There is a lot of external facing documentation that we've, you know, raised our hand and said, we can do this because really we can. We have already been doing this to begin with. And so this is just really adding on to our portfolio as it relates to our anchor mission work.